Hello, welcome back to the part 4 of the Understanding the Nature of Man on the subject of a brief introduction into the Sabbath. And I have the video up ready to go. Have the mouse near the like button. You can see at the bottom right of the video where the gear is, says settings. Click that. And you see where it says playback speed. Click that. And then you see 1.5 or 1.75. These are pretty good. And the point of going this speed is because my speaking is pretty slow and I may have some pauses. So, to make listening to my reading more bearable, I'd advise speeding up the video a bit. You'll still be able to understand what I'm saying, so there's no issue with that. So, and if you really want it to go even faster and you're still able to catch up with what I'm trying to say, you could also put it to times 2. Seize the Sabbath day. Salvation is all about love. The great commandments are all about loving God and loving our neighbors. Every love relationship grows in the garden of quality time, and the Sabbath is all about special time with God. The devil knows if he can choke out our sacred hours as Jesus, he can fill our minds with other things. Then our love might grow very cold. Sabbath is holy time given to us by God, so that we may stop from our regular work and focus on the Lord. It is a unique time for worship, Bible study, prayer, and fellowship with other Christians. It is also a day for healing and supporting others, especially those who are suffering. Sabbath is a day for visiting the sick and encouraging those in prison. It is a day to put away our own agendas and think about others. Most of all, it is a day to set aside distractions so that we may sit at the feet of Jesus. It is not a day full of rules that make it a burden. Sabbath is to be a delight because it draws us closer to the one we love, Jesus Christ. Perhaps you have not spent much time thinking about how to practically keep God's Sabbath holy. I would encourage you to make a commitment right now and say, Lord, help me to honor you and keep your Sabbath day holy. I believe that when you choose to keep the Sabbath and place God first in your life, He will make you holy, just as He made the Sabbath day holy. Children and the Sabbath. If you have children, uh, if you have children, the Sabbath can be uniquely challenging. What do you do with the kids? This is a subject that really needs attention because if you get it wrong, the Sabbath will either become a burden for your children or become a day that doesn't really mean anything at all. If you do it right, it will be a delight and a blessing to them. So let's begin with first things first. Fathers and mothers should make it a rule that their children attend public worship on the Sabbath and should enforce the rule by their own example. How many fathers send their children to church on Saturday or Sunday morning, but stay at home themselves so they can watch the news and read the sports section in peace? This is a horrible practice, dividing the family on a very important occasion and being a poor example in honoring the holiness of God. Your children are going to do what you do, so you ought to attend church by example. Bundles of energy. Let's face it though. Kids have more energy than a nuclear reactor. They have, it seems, unending energy, and when you put the seatbelt on it, their pew Sabbath morning, and they're sitting still the whole time, and then you take them home and say, now we get to sit for another 6 hours. Well, it's no wonder they watch the clock waiting for the Sabbath to finally end. So it's important that you keep their active minds engaged and give them positive things to do. But I also want to suggest that there's a significant difference between the Sabbath being a delight and feeling guilty because you're not making the Sabbath a time of entertainment. I don't know that there's a command anywhere that says we are to make every Sabbath for our children like a trip to Disneyland. Remember, it's a holy day. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself and your family. You might do something that happens to be fun. I have fun preaching. But the idea that we need to be entertained every moment is, I think, a plague on our newest generation. That's a corruption in our thinking. I'm sad to say I've seen parents hand their kids a Game Boy or smartphone during church, and the kids are shooting asteroids or whatever it is they're playing these days because their parents are afraid that the kids might not have fun. It's understandable. The parents want the kids to enjoy church and to be manageable and quiet. The problem is, well, they're not hearing the word of God. And another problem is that we're setting them up for the future. Are they going to want to sit in church calmly listening to a sermon when they're a 45-year-old, or are they going to want to distract themselves with the latest iPad game? At some point, we need to be teaching our children to be respectful and to sit and listen because we want them to transition from being children to being adults. While they might not understand much of what they're hearing, it's still an exercise that will help them later in life. Theoretically, as they get older, they'll understand more and more of the sermon and be able to apply it. Be engaging. But there are things we can do, not just in church, but during the whole day, that can make the Sabbath something really special. One of my former churches has a great Sabbath school department that keeps the young people engaged in learning. They make it interesting and interactive, but they also realize that it takes a lot of effort. Does doing anything with children ever not require lots of effort? It often takes great labor during the week to help our children enjoy their Sabbath rest. The options are seemingly unlimited. However, reading spiritual books, going on nature walks, or visiting shut-ins or nursing homes to bring joy to other people's lives. My family enjoys going out in nature and exploring God's creation. Nature is a good thing, even though you can't do it all year long because of the weather. But this also provides some challenges, such as, what if you go to a river or a lake? Can the kids go swimming? Should they only wade up to their ankles or knees, perhaps? I have heard all kinds of parents weigh in on this, and they can be passionate, and it's something my own family struggles to get right. On one Sabbath, we went up to a creek near our cabin in the woods. Our kids wanted to know if they could get in the water. We said, well, you can take off your shoes. It is my belief that wading around, collecting rocks, and looking at crawdads are good ways to get out in God's creation, to feel it with your toes a little bit. But the next thing you know, one of our kids was completely, quote unquote, baptized. He didn't want to be. He didn't want to be. He got pushed in, and pretty soon the focus was on them playing around. When it comes to these things, you just need to give them guidelines so that they can enjoy being out in nature, but remembering that it is holy time. It's one thing when you're down at the river with the kids on Sabbath and they are cooling off their toes. It's something else if they're doing cannonballs off the diving board. They're not really thinking about God, are they? It also might be okay to go for a Sabbath drive with the family, especially if the conversation is focused on God, or you're listening to a sermon or a Christian CD for children. But you don't want to get involved in the Indy 500 while all that's going on. You could say, well, I'm just driving. But there's a difference. So you need to use some intelligence about the purpose of your Sabbath outing. It's also great to have your kids involved in Pathfinders, Adventure Club, or similar groups. They might get out in nature more often and collect flowers, pine cones, and rocks. If the weather is bad outside, have your child invite a friend home and draw pictures of nature. You can sing together, do 20 questions on Bible characters. You can also visit shut-ins or call or write someone who needs encouragement. Have them write a letter to a Bible character. Again, it might take some energy. I think they mean about a Bible character. Well spent energy thinking about things that can be done to help your kids burn off some of their energy that they naturally have. If you honor God and stick close to His heart, your children will fall in love with the Sabbath and look forward to it. After being born, baby dolphins actually have to learn how to swim. It doesn't take them very long, but you'll often see them swimming upside down. They're going down when they need to go up. They don't know how to breathe yet. They're not sure where the air is. And just like human babies, they've got to breathe shortly after they're born or they don't survive. The mother and father and other dolphins in the pod will get under the little one and push it up to the surface where it can finally take a breath. They'll let the newborn swim around, and they know instinctively when it's ready for another breath. On a regular basis for the first hours or days of its life, they keep pushing the baby to the surface so it can breathe. Even eventually, the baby dolphin gets the hint and can do these things on its own. Well, our children need to be trained how to breathe holy air. Sometimes they might resist our efforts and refuse to breathe in the Sabbath rest. They might even go the wrong direction on purpose at times, but they just need that gentle guidance so they'll find out where it is to be at rest in the Lord. And that is always worth your energy. And that is the end of that study. And then that leads to one of the last studies of this document. Notice I said one of. And that is the seal of God. We'll see what the Sabbath has to do with the seal of God in the next video. See you guys later.